Some ideas don't ruin you right away. They actually make you feel stronger, like you finally understand things and how this world works, like you are more in control than everyone else. And that's why you don't question them. If something needs you to become a little colder to keep believing in it, what is it slowly taking away from you? I'm going to show you, using actual philosophy, this movement claims to follow. Exactly what it is. Not what it says it is, but what it actually is. The biggest name in the world of Red Pill and Manosphere is Andrew Tate. And I want to be upfront about something before we go any further. This video is not specifically about Andrew Tate. I'm using him as an example because he is genuinely the cleanest, the most documented case study of this ideology. He didn't create the red pill, he just packaged it better than anyone else. So when I talk about him, I'm not talking about one man in particular. I'm talking about the whole architecture of the thinking he represents. In July 2022, on the Barstool BFF podcast, cited directly by New York Times, he said, "I'm not saying they are property. I'm saying they are given to the man and belong to the man."
But I said that if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman.
He said on multiple recorded appearances, women are like children and you have to treat them like children. He said depression, as it's diagnosed, doesn't exist. Then journalists and critics who tracked him closely found a consistent pattern. Whenever the backlash peaked, his tone would shift. Suddenly there was talk of women being valued, protected, respected. Then the pressure dropped, the original positions reappeared. And this was one of his most reliable PR strategies. And after his arrest in Romania, he spoke publicly about his psychological pain, his suffering, and the injustice of it. The man who told a generation that depression isn't real needed the world to take his views seriously. Now, I'm not calling him a hypocrite. That's too easy and misses the point. Plato described this kind of person 2400 years ago. Not as a villain, but a category. In Sophist, he separates the philosopher from sophist. The philosopher argues towards truth even when it costs him. Socrates died for it. The sophist argues towards whatever the moment requires him, shifting not because he learned something, but because audience changed. The platform changed, the charges changed. Aristotle said, credibility rests upon three things: intelligence, virtue, and genuine goodwill towards your audience. Does a man whose position moves with his PR cycle have genuine goodwill toward young men listening to him? And remember, this isn't just about Andrew Tate. There are millions of other people doing the same thing. Or is he very good at finding what lost people need to hear? Inside Hustlers University, the members were explicitly told to post his most outrageous clips, generate arguments, start controversies, start fights, because outrage drives clicks and clicks drives signups and signups drives commission. When he got banned from Instagram and Facebook in August 2022, the affiliate program shut down the very next day. The ideology wasn't spreading because it was true. It was spreading because people were paid to spread it. That's a funnel with a philosophy painted on it. Women are fundamentally different by nature. That difference creates a hierarchy, and hierarchy isn't oppression, it's truth. Sounds alright, and it was designed to. The traits we call feminine, submission, dependence, smallness, are not biology. They are what happens when a system spends thousands of years rewarding those traits and punishing the opposites. You can't look at what the system produces and call it nature. That's like putting a plant in a dark room, watching it grow pale toward the only crack of light and saying this is just how it grows. The environment shaped it, you couldn't see the room. Now someone the manosphere actually claims to respect, a Stoic, Musonius Rufus, 1st century AD, He wrote a lecture, preserved, still readable today, called That Women Too Should Study Philosophy. He argued that women possesses the same rational faculty as men, the same capacity for virtue. In a world that treated women as a legal property, a Stoic philosopher said, same mind, same potential. Because the actual Stoic tradition was built by outsiders. Zeno, the founder, was a Phoenician immigrant, laughed at in Athens. Epictetus was a slave. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we are all the citizens of the world. These are not the people who believed in hierarchy and irrational dominance. When you use Stoicism to justify dominance over women, you are not being Stoic. You are wearing Stoic clothes over a completely different philosophy. Now, the biology argument, which the red pill and the manosphere lovers love to debate. Testosterone is real, brain differences are real, you can't philosophize that away. You are right, I'm not going to. Yes, higher testosterone is linked to higher dominance seeking behavior. Average brain differences exist. That is documented. I'm not dismissing it. But here's what the same science also says, and what never makes it into the content. A meta-analysis of over 8,000 people found the correlation between testosterone and aggression is approximately 0.08, less than 1% of the variation. And even that tiny number holds in very specific conditions. In men who already have dominance trait, when cortisol is also low, the hormone amplifies what's already there. It doesn't create anything from the scratch. Brain studies. Researchers scanned over 1,400 brains. They didn't find male brain and female brain, but they found an enormous overlap. A neuroscientist, Gina Rippon, has shown the variations within the men and within women is far larger than average difference between them. The manosphere takes the average differences between the two groups and uses it to make claims about every individual in both groups. Now, the historical arguments. Tate said directly in a documented interview, there is no such thing as an independent female. A peer-reviewed study in the Economic History Review found women contributed 44% of all economic activity in early modern period. Women were legally constrained, severely often. That was real and wrong. But legally constrained and completely dependent are not the same thing. One is history and other is mythology, built to make this ideology feel ancient and inevitable. Tate said publicly in a documented tweet, I teach Stoicism, emotional control and self-accountability. And he has talked about Stoicism a lot more times. What he means by Stoicism is this: all the bad things that happen to you as a man, if you are a Stoic, you get to take unlimited energy. Heartbreak is unlimited energy, so is rage, so is depression. I understand what he is reaching for. But that's not Stoicism. The real Stoics were not trying to convert pain into fuel. They were trying to understand where the pain comes from and dissolve the belief underneath it. Completely different operation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. Not use the anger is itself the subject and problem. And then Seneca, the line that the manosphere would never quote, all cruelty springs from weakness. The man who performs aggression because rationality feels like death, in Seneca's own words, is not strong. He is afraid and he found a way to perform his fear as power. And here's why this matters beyond philosophy. A student who genuinely learns Stoicism, who stops needing external proof of his worth, who can sit with discomfort without turning it into rage, doesn't need the next course. A genuinely Stoic man or a woman becomes less dependent. That is not a good business model, isn't it? Here's the thing that nobody says in these videos. The same ideology that shrinks women, shrinks men too. Think about what it actually asks of you. Never be certain, never need help, never grieve. Every emotion is either fuel or weakness. Every relationship is just a transaction and is material. Every moment of kindness is a threat to the identity. That is not freedom, that is prison with a kind of better branding. The moment you call yourself red pill, you have already stopped observing the reality. You are interpreting it through a filter. Everything gets sorted through the same machine. Confirms it, confirms it, confirms it. Krishnamurti spent his whole life saying one thing. The moment you join an ideology, you stop seeing the reality and you start conforming. Same thing is with religions, same thing is with every other ideology, group or a sect. And Sartre called this bad faith, performing a role so completely that you forgot you chose it. The alpha male identity is bad faith at a scale. You are handed a script and you perform it. And after a while, the performance is all there is. And Nietzsche, one they love to quote the most, the Übermensch has nothing to do with dominating other people. The battle is entirely internal. Self-overcoming, creating your values from inside yourself, not inheriting them from a podcast. Nietzsche had a word for men who need others beneath them to feel above them. Resentment. He placed it in the weak, people who can't build anything real, so they define themselves by who they are better than. Maybe the red pill isn't awakening you. Maybe it's just giving you a simpler story, so you don't have to face the harder truth that nothing is against you and no one is coming to save you either. There is no enemy whose defeat will make you whole, and I think you already know that. That's why the content has to keep feeding you new enemies. Because the moment it goes quiet, you have to sit with yourself. So what do you actually do? Epictetus, who was a slave and was owned by another human being, built a philosophy of complete internal freedom on one idea. Some things are in your control, your values, your thoughts, how you respond. Everything else is not yours. In the confusion of those two categories, he said is the root of almost all the sufferings. Seneca said, retire into yourself, associate with those who make a better man of you. Marcus Aurelius kept private journals that were never meant to be published. What he wrote wasn't I'm strong, it was I was irritable today. I failed and I'm still trying. That is what real stoicism sounds like when no one is watching. A man alone, honest with himself and no audience required. The manosphere is not the disease and Tate is not the problem. They're all the symptoms. It is what happens when you take genuine pain of young men, the confusion, the purposelessness, the feeling of being told you are the problem before you had a chance to become a person, and sell it back to them as a solution. Brilliant product. Solves nothing it claims to solve. Nietzsche would say, stop waiting for someone to hand you an identity and build one from inside. That is the harder path, but it is the only one that actually goes somewhere. Don't trust my words, go see it yourself.